Dr. Clare Beckett McInroy is the founder of Beckett McInroy Consultancy and Coach Me. She's an award-winning systemic executive leadership and team coach. She's an ICF Master Certified Coach and Master Practitioner. She's a psychometrist, which is in psychometric profiling, an instructional designer, experiential trainer, and researcher. And she's also an accredited supervisor. She's a registered mentor, coach, facilitator, shadow consultant, leadership developer with experience across sectors globally. I don't know where you find the time, Clare. That's a huge amount of titles. Clare's really passionate about creative, experiential, reflective practice, which leads to integrating learning into increasingly impactful future professional practice. And on top of all that, Clare's also a published author and a public speaker. And even with all that, I'm just skimming the tip of the iceberg. I strongly recommend that you take a look at Clare's profile on TCD or on LinkedIn, and that will tell you much more about her vast wealth of experience and achievements. Clare, that's enough from me. I'm going to hand over to you. And again, thank you so much for facilitating our session today.
Thank you so much, Helen, and welcome everyone. And in terms of, I just want to share as well in terms of Trustee Coach Directory. I think I've been a member now for about 5 years. I've thoroughly enjoyed all the professional development I've ever attended. It's a great community, of course, a resource for people who want to get in touch with coaches and supervisors and mentors as well. And Helen holds it all together just so elegantly is the word that I'm coming up with there for you, Helen. So there we go. Helen, will you help me with letting the latecomers in just when I'm in?
Yeah, sure.
Fantastic. I'm not very good at talking and doing. And so to start with, this is the format today. I'm going to show some very few slides in case anyone's here who is not familiar with supervision. And I'll, of course, relate it to specifically team coaching supervision. And then we are going to work together with an audience watching, still part of the whole system together. And then a few people, maybe 3, who wish to volunteer to have some team coaching supervision today as a group. Team coaching supervision in a group format. That's a long sentence, isn't it? And I also put on the blurb on the information that we will, a little bit contrived, however it is a demo, work to blend in some creative ways to work in supervision as well. So quite an eclectic session. And I'll bring the slides up. And so from its beginnings in education, where people are familiar with, if you've got your thesis at university, you have a supervisor to support you through the way. And then also in the medical professionals, you know, doctors, occupational therapists, and so forth, have supervisors to bring their casework. And it's just the same for coaches. My philosophy is that supervision is for any professional. So one project that I was involved in during COVID, for example, was leaders of competing schools working together in group supervision that I was facilitating to enable each other to let off steam, to resource, to support each other. There was, of course, all the emotional side, the medical side of all this, children at home and they're working in places that they don't work, etc. Because teachers, of course, tend to be there in the schools, and they even supported each other by sharing letters they were sending out about the education, you know, the exams coming up and the way the professional bodies were with things like that, and will it be happening, the exams? And so they enabled each other to save time as well by just supporting each other in any way possible. And there was tears and there was elation, and everything else in between. So the other example of supervision is for any professional. We find that if leaders have been, the C-suite, they've been through their MBA programs, they've had loads of deep, I'm connected to my values, I'm clear of my life purpose. Supervision can actually be a really supportive space at that level when a lot of coaching has already taken place. Professional sounding board, sometimes things that can't be shared with their team. So watch this space. I believe that more of that will come. In a nutshell, the restorative element of supervision is almost like going to a spa and washing things away, whether you've had a bad session or it's a really busy, overloaded week. So you can be fit for purpose with your clients. The resources developmental piece is models, tools, techniques, approaches. Have you tried? What about? Are you familiar with this? That type of dialogue. So where coaching tends to be non-directive, supervision, the supervisor will share their experiences and will share their resources. And then the qualitative part is about, for example, ethics or position in the different professional bodies, all of that type of regulatory, you could say, even though we're not a regulated profession. And so there, Hawkins and Smith, their way of putting together what supervision is, and then Lucas and Lacombe, similar, and they added in the commercial aspect as well. These slides will go to you after the session, by the way. So you as a human being in our world, the personal, the technical, what are you doing? How are you doing it? And I always add to that bit contracting. For example, when a coach has never contracted with an organization, and the contracting for team coaching, even more complex, the team as an entity, and then there'll be conversations with the team leader during contracting, the HR, the procurement, usually the executive sponsor as well. And so 3, 4, even 5-way contracting can sometimes take place. So we always say, even from the get-go, reflecting on that first conversation around a team coaching project, supervision is useful right from that point. And then proctors, it comes from the, the medical, the clinical side. You can see very, very similar. And I've just added the business element up there, top left. So anything to do with the, even how much should I be charging? Conversations you can have with a supervisor to play around together and see what comes up. And if you need to step into more bravery around that type of thing as well. Okay, give me a thumbs up when I can move on. Thank you. So what topics are brought to supervision? So if this was a training session, we'd get you in breakouts and spend a lovely 15 minutes, having a real chat around this. Because we're going to be moving into a demonstration, here's a cheat sheet. And of course, there's a million more things we can bring to supervision as well. Things that I'm noticing coming into supervision are things like spirituality, existential questions just recently as well, because of so much of what's going on in our world. And, even uncovering things that are difficult to say. So you can even have silent supervision, where the supervision takes place and the supervisee doesn't need to share what they've been reflecting on. So there's questions there also in terms of, what do you not want to bring to supervision? And sometimes working in a silent way enables the supervisee to consider that and grapple with it, even move on with it and integrate their learning into future practice. And of course, with all that, there's always a fantastic supervisory question in terms of, and what's that about? Why are you nervous about bringing that topic to supervision, which is great learning for the professional as well. And in terms of team coaching, this slide specifically relates a great deal to team coaching, and really important, what I'd say the platinum model, co-team coaching, when you can team coach two coaches together, being it online or in person. So you've got your supervisory system, you've got the team system, you've got the relationship between the coaches and the team, and then that system in terms of relating to the organization, and then bring in the supervisor and what's playing out there, any parallel processes or projection that's at work in terms of what's happening with the team and the field that they're in, and what's actually taking place in the relationship in the supervision session. It uncovers so much. And of course, we need 3 hours to go into that even more. So, forms of supervision. You can supervise yourself, of course. David Clutterbuck's done a lot of research and more is coming. So when we supervise ourselves, when we work to well, you can do it sort of, driving home, or you can sit down and diarize it. And where do you actually reflect? All of that's important as well. But also, when we supervise ourselves, it doesn't necessarily challenge us as much, or we don't necessarily go as wide and deep in terms of the way we're working with what we're bringing. So then one-on-one, and that could be with peers. It could be with, obviously, a trained and accredited supervisor. Reverse supervision in its infancy. Watch this space. I'm sure more will come. So reverse mentoring is where someone less experienced is being mentored by, the other way around. Someone more experienced is being mentored by someone less experienced. So if you think of a CEO being mentored on social media by someone younger and just joining the organization, wouldn't that be fantastic? Because they probably know so much more about it. Same with supervision. Naive questioning can often uncover blind spots. So reverse supervision is really quite interesting. And that's why there's a benefit also in group supervision with people at different ability levels and experience levels. And of course, sometimes we consciously choose group supervision to be set up with a group who are at the same level, or in my case, team coaches together, as opposed to one-on-one and team coaches bringing different topics about one-on-one and team coaching. And then one-to-many, as we've said here, and now and again, 2-to-1, that can be quite interesting, 2 supervisors to 1 supervisee. And of course, it can take place internal. There's a trickle of internal supervisors, and it's used in leadership development, OD. One of the people who train with us works as a director at Lego, and he uses a supervisory approach in their leadership sandpit.
Sorry, can I just
Yes,
interrupt a moment?
absolutely.
It was just a question that came up. I thought it'd be interesting for you to explain. Vicky's asking, what's the difference between self-supervision and individual reflection?
Okay, so for me, reflection is part of supervision. And I'll bring up a slide in a minute that shows different types of reflection. Supervision is not just reflection, in my view, because in supervision, there's many other things we may do. So in a second, I'll go back to that question and pad that out a little bit more, okay? Directive and non-directive, depending on the topic, depending on the person's experience. And, you know, if it's about ethics, for me, it goes in the middle, but then sometimes it may go to the directive, just as one example, because, for example, if you follow the professional body, this is exactly what they say. So slightly more on the directive side. So this is our supervision model, and it comes from, we've got a faculty of over 10 MCCs, you know, on the ICF side, and we work together to create this model, looking at the other models, but also seeing what works for us and our clients, and then also where may there be a few gaps. So results in the center, results for the overarching supervision engagement and for the individual sessions. And then skills, knowledge, and behaviors. These can be blended together. Any bit can be together, or it may be discretely looking at some of these individual areas. So behaviors, of course, the way we're showing up, who we're being. And this model we use for the supervisors, but also with our supervisees. At the bottom, we've got what system is the coach, but also, or anyone being supervised, but also their clients operating in. So during COVID, obviously, totally relevant to do with the stress in the system as one example, but also the field they're operating in. So lots in the US at the moment in terms of changes there, also in the UK with the budget yesterday. So wherever people are operating, the field that they're working in, is it foreign direct investment or engineering or oil and gas? All of that is relevant for the conversations in supervision. Now, in terms of the question on reflection, see, it is one bit, and we debated long and hard. So thank you for the question. Should reflection be in the center? And we decided no, because it's one bit of supervision. So we can reflect on action, like looking in your mirror in the car, we're looking at the past. Okay? Reflection in action, right now in the moment. And I'm aware that I'm talking quite fast because I want to get onto the demo. That's me reflecting right now. And then preflection, looking through a window into the future, working with the supervisor. What way do I want to show up in terms of behaviors with my clients in the future? Or what more knowledge do I need to gather to implement in my future work? And then meta reflection, maybe that would have been better with a space in it. Meta reflection, that's actually reflecting on the way that you reflect, which is fabulous learning in itself. Really interesting with different types of learning, visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and so forth, but also neurodiversity. And then transition planning. Where is this? We'll say coach. Where is this coach? Where do they need to be? Or what's their goal, their result? What way can we work with them to get them there? And then also coping with setbacks and dependencies and being aware of those. And then action. Yes, with transition planning, planning action for the future, but also things like fast forwards. We can watch trigger tapes of someone in their practice with their client and then talk together and practice. It may be rephrasing things or being braver, all of those things present in supervision. And then at the top, belief. We believe in this work. Momentum. It's about moving things forwards. So our view is not just process and staying in reflection, integrating that learning into future practice, and also growing our field in that way by sharing, you know, what we're all learning together. And then celebration. And if I could have that one in flashing lights, I would. So celebrating and acknowledging and championing, and also in Nancy Klein's way, acknowledging and appreciating the work that's been done together, the small steps and the big shifts over time. I am going to send you a write-up, it's a long one, on that model. So that's number 1. I'll also send you a write-up on the 7-eyed model of supervision that I did, specifically related to team coaching. And I'm good at promising things. If there's anything else I promise before the end of the session, and I don't send it you, just let me know and I will get that across to you. If anyone uses DeckHive, this is a much more simplistic way of thinking about supervision that we created. We need to stop. We need to stay because life's frenetic. We need to consciously work in this space. And then we restart, stop, stay, and restart. There's a little bit more on that there, and you'll get the slide. And you can work with clients. These cards flip in DeckHive, so you can use them in that way. And then just to share, we've got a triple accredited program, covers everything for ICF side, and also EMCC and AC. So, any burning questions before we get into the demo? I'll make it bigger, Cheryl, for when I send it out to you. Just letting that all land. And so, the way we're going to work together now, we are all in this supervision. If anyone's had group supervision, even when it's not your topic, your case that you're bringing, we all learn together. And often ripples even after the session as well. And so I'd like to invite 3 is possible within the time we've got. I'd like to invite 3 people who would like to be supervised on their team coaching. Jawahar, Rehan, anyone else? And Tony, fantastic. Thank you so much. So, Jawahar, Rehan, and Tony, I tend to, like everyone else, to leave their cameras on, but of course stay on mute. The reason is we remember that everyone else is still in our supervisory system in that way. So are you 3 okay for people to stay on camera?
For me, no problem.
Fantastic, fantastic. And if you ever play with these things, try it in a way where everyone goes off camera and just see the difference, feel the difference. It is interesting to explore that. And in terms of contracting, I'm going to just pin the 3 people. Give me a second. And where's Jawahar? There we are. Thanks, Jawahar. Okay. And so in terms of the contracting, we've got around 15 minutes with each of you on what you're bringing to supervision. And I'd love to work in a way where we're all supervising. And so, yes, I will lead, and feel free to blend in, bring in what you're experiencing, and also any sharing you feels relevant for the person being supervised. and also any questions you may have for them. I always say in supervision as well, sometimes we get asked something that, especially when it's a demo, we don't want to answer in front of an audience. And if that's the case, it's your supervision. You do what you need to do, and you might just want to write down that question to keep it to reflect on right now or later. So do what you need to do. And if you're willing, we will blend in some options for some creative approaches to work with your team cases that you're bringing. And nobody gets it wrong. Whatever you think, do, say is absolutely perfect. Is there anything that any of you wish to mention in terms of contracting? And we are being recorded. And if there's anything after the session that you would prefer to be deleted, then please do let me know, and myself and Helen will ensure that that bit gets deleted. And so let's start with a round. Share high level what you're bringing to supervision. And here's an invitation that you don't have to take. If you want to share it as the name of a film or a book title or anything like that, anything creative, book title and blurb for a little bit more information, share it this time high level, and we'll see what's in our room, and then we'll move into the supervision. You may even want to describe it as a type of music if you're feeling creative. You know, what's the rhythm of this topic that you're bringing today? Who'd like to go first?
What came to mind was, sorry. Yeah, sorry, Tony, go ahead.
Trying to herd cats.
Trying to herd cats. Thank you, Tony. Any bit of blurb around that? 3 bullets?
It is a club with a challenge on connection to grow the club. So they need to work together in order to grow club. And they have connection issues. But it is difficult for them to be open to team coaching. They're looking more for give us the solution mode.
Thank you.
Tell us what to do. What do we need to add to the to-do list? Tell us what to do and we'll do it. Team coaching, oh, don't go there. Yeah, we're not looking at our behaviors and how we interact or...
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And I loved this. I can see the connection. And even if it's okay to say, there was a little bit like this when you were speaking as well. So that was interesting too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you, Tony.
Yeah.
Who's next?
I wanted to say that what came to my mind was Pride and Prejudice, the movie and the book. And it's for the same reason that Tony said, interestingly, because what I want to talk about, like some people, they have some doubts about team coaching, and maybe they are too proud to admit that team coaching is helping, and sometimes they are judgmental. So there is some prejudice there. Thank you.
And then choosing a music tone or a music type, which is jazz for my team coaching issue. that I'm presenting for supervision. It's representing virtual team coaching and having this imbalance, participation, and not understanding the verbal cues because it's not obvious. So with jazz, it's quiet sometimes, and suddenly the tone is like higher. So that's what I'm bringing for supervision today.
Fantastic. Thank you. And so, shall we work in the order that you all spoke? So Tony, Rehan, and Juwaha. How does that sound, just for ease?
Will we take 15 minutes each or 15 minutes as a whole?
Around 15 minutes each.
Can I go first if Tony and Jawahir don't mind? Because I might have to leave in 20
Sure.
minutes. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Rehan, full focus on you. And just one thing in terms of contracting with the whole group. Sorry, I meant to say this at the very start. If possible, try not, the rest of the group, try not to type in the chat when the supervision's taking place, just because personally, I go to read it and then I'm not full focus with the clients, but also it can take the client away from their thinking as well. So if you want to write down what you want to put in the chat and put it at the end of the supervision bit, then that's absolutely fine, because we'd love to hear what you want to share, just not when the demo's taking place. Thanks so much. Rehan, where are you right now with the topic you're bringing?
Uh, I feel a bit confused about a recent incident I had. I thought everything was under control till I had a meeting with one of the stakeholders. He had doubts, and I felt we are not connected at the human level. And I think that what was missing in the whole thing. So I asked for another meeting for the person who was coordinating the whole thing. I told her honestly, this is what I felt. So I brought it to supervision to see, like, if something like that happened again, what is the best way to deal with it? How to deal with doubts from any of the stakeholders. Could be team leader, could be CEO, could be HR leader, anybody.
Such a great topic. And it's present in so many team coaching engagements.
Yes.
And so, what way do you need us to be whilst we're working with you?
You mean the way you will engage with me as one person or all of you? I don't mind any. So.
And, you know, in terms of directive and non-directive and super gentle to hardcore, how do you want us to be?
I always like to be in the middle.
Okay, perfect.
Be soft and hard at the same time.
And then what specifically do you need to leave with?
An assertive and gentle way of dealing with skeptical people.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay. Rehan, in terms of potentially a creative way to work with this, would working with image cards or would working with playing with a different language, or would working with you drawing anything that you think out of some of the options there you'd like to be as a way to explore this topic?
You gave me everything I love. Okay, to be honest, I'm not feeling well. I can't really draw, but I can go with pictures, images. I think images will be the best for now.
Okay, perfect. So what I've done for everyone to see there as well, in the chat, there's a Miro board with images on it. And I'll bring it up here just for a second, and then I will close it just because I want to be full focus with you. So different images here. Rihan, in terms of what's happening in the relationship, which image are you drawn to?
The first one that caught my attention was the mismatched socks.
That sounds perfect for the description of what you've shared, actually. Okay, so we're working with the mismatched socks. And what drew you to that image?
I always believe in the potential of people. Like there is goodness, they mean well, and they have every right to have doubts. I might act the same if I were in their shoes. So this is one thing. The other thing is there are similarities always between people. They don't look at that. They jump right away to the differences. So I always like to make people look at the differences, how we are, similarities, how we are similar. And I think that what draws a group together, a team together, even family together, friends. So these two socks, they do the same thing. The person is wearing, two of them. They are not the same color, but they do the same job. So we have to look at how they are functioning, how they can help us. Let's imagine that the body is the team we are working on.
I loved it when you said they do the same thing despite the mismatch and the color.
This is how I see it. Thank you.
And so it prompts me to think about possibly contracting, recontracting, alignment, an awareness of we're all here for the same purpose, to do the same thing in service of the team. What comes up for you now I've shared that?
That's why I insisted on having an informal meeting with that person and everybody else, and let's get to know each other at the human level. I think that makes us look at us as humans. What do we have to bring? Not as like, oh, I'm a team coach, I have to do that. You are the team leader, you have to do that. You have the HR leader, you have to do that. So I think the human connections will enhance the communications, will make people see each other differently. I believe in the power of a human being communications. That's what came to my mind. And at the personal level, I usually try to make that happen professionally. Wherever I work, I try to have that human connection with whoever I work with. We don't have to be friends or best friends or whatever, but at least we have that nice connection that makes us work smoothly.
We're hearing quite a lot about your values there. And so, Rehan, were you going to say something else then?
No. You talked about the values. I was like, absolutely.
Yeah, wonderful. And so let's invite Juaha and Tony to share in brief anything you're experiencing somatically, or any thoughts so far, or any question. And Rehan, I invite you to absorb it all. When they've both spoken, you can decide where we go next.
I can.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Go, Jar.
No, please do. You're first.
So yeah, that was a lovely exercise with the mismatched socks, and you know, talking around that, you know, they're doing the same job, they might be different. And what came up for me somatically was this kind of nagging. What do you do with somebody that you don't feel you know, there's a good connection with in this process? And I was just wondering where you might let go of that. You know, what is it to be with the uncertainty of that? Because, you know, there's always going to be people that like you, that don't like you, that want it, who resist. And what you might be taking on yourself about what you're telling yourself about that, whereas that's just to do with him. You know, yeah, you know, he doesn't want to be exposed, he doesn't want, you know, he resists that, you know, let's just keep doing the same thing. So we're, you know, yeah, what you might take on that in yourself. So where you might feel, where am I feeling like a mismatched sock?
Can't help but add to that in a generative way, Tony, in terms of, and what if they're not even putting the sock on despite the size or colour? Because that happens as well. Juaha.
Yeah, Rayhan, allow me to share something that I know about you, like, you know, hearing your values. And also, I'm going to use the picture that you chose for your background, which is the bridge. Being a great connector and relating to the image that you chose for your background as a bridge. How can you relate this and resonate with it in your case that you presented for supervision?
Okay, so Dr. Clare, how would you like me to go from here? Answer both questions.
How would you like to go from here?
Well, I liked both questions. So when Tony talked, I was like, yes, there are people we don't like, or the opposite, people don't like us. We don't agree. But when it comes to work, we want the work to be done. That's why I try my best to have that connection. You don't have to like me, but we have work to be done. So maybe what Tony brought here was the part I talked about first, which is assertiveness. Okay, I'm nice. I like to be connected to others, but at the same time, I want the job to be done. So I have to be as much as I can clear and firm about what I want. So that is something I have to bring to the table when I have the contracting part. I'm as a team coach, I have to do blah, 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 blah. This is my work, this is blah, blah, blah. So if they like it as a whole, all the stakeholders, we move on. If not, it's not the end of the world. For Jawahar's question about being connected, yes, I'd like to be connecting with others before we have any kind of relationship, business, friendship, whatever. As I told you, because that's a high value that in me, humanity, and I think that's one of my strengths. I don't have to agree with everyone, but it's nice to be like having a good connection with all. So this is what I usually do. I can disagree politely and in a nice way. I keep the connection. But sometimes it's hard when you have type of resistance from the person. That's why I go back and see how did we start that connection. For that person, it was really brief and it was through the lady and I didn't know anything about the person. As a person, myself, forgetting about him, I felt like I don't have him, I don't, sorry, know him enough to be connected at that level. That's why I was like, maybe we need to have another informal meeting, not in the front everybody and you know, it's formalities and blah blah blah. Let's see how can we connect at let's say a little deeper level, and then we can see if we can make it work or not. Because if somebody has doubts, they may disrupt the work. And we don't want that to happen. That's why I think these things should be resolved at the very beginning. We want things to start smoothly, because even if that everything is going well, we will have that storming phase in the team anyway. So also another value, I believe in strong foundations. That's why I don't have like with my friendships, with my professional work, I don't have like any connection. I like it to be based on a strong foundation. And thank you for your questions, Tony and Joanne and Dr. Clare, of course.
And Rehan, I'm also thinking, is there a need for you to be with him where he's at? Because team coaching in some organizations is in its infancy. So I'm wondering what that might be like, look like, what he may experience.
I think it's new to him, the idea. That's why he has doubts. Because, you know, some people, they are skeptical by nature, and that's okay. But from a leadership position, I think his leadership style might be the mentoring style, might be like, you know, dominant style. Like, okay, I know this. He's excellent at what he's doing, actually. So this is the right thing. Maybe he doesn't want to try new things. And I face that in different people, even my colleagues at work. Anything creative? No, 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 no. I was like, okay, just try it and tell me. Give me feedback. You don't have to work with it. And let's say 90% of the people, I worked with them that way. It worked. They enjoyed the process and they told me, oh, it worked. And they started to look at the thing differently. So maybe from your question, we need to set something like a demo where that person is part of and let him experience that. Because again, you made me think of the learning styles. Our learning styles are different. So yeah, I love the idea. Let's set a demo.
So, Juwaha, we've only got about 2 minutes before we move on to the next supervisee. Which card are you drawn to in terms of the experience he'll get from that demo, or maybe even what way the relationship needs to be?
I think it's Rehan, Dr. Clare, because you mentioned my name.
Oh, it's Juwaha. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Rehan.
So I thought you started with the next one. Sorry. Yeah, tell me. Yeah, sorry.
What does, in terms of that demo, what do you need him to experience, or what way does the relationship need to be?
I want him to have a taste of team coaching firsthand. So then he decides is that right for my organization or not? So this is what my takeaway from the session.
Is there a card to represent that, an image?
Can I ask you to zoom in a little bit?
Sure.
I think I left the one below, the one with the C. Right, yeah.
This one?
No. I think it was below the socks, or no? Yeah, this one next to the
This one. Aha.
C.
Hmm.
Okay. I saw C and I was like, oh, this is the image. I think hopefully things will be as calm as this blue sea, and the team can build things like the buildings in the picture together.
Fantastic. And I'll send you that image
Thank you very much.
if you'd like.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Claire, Jawad, Tony, and everyone for listening. Helen, thank you too. And I have to leave. Yeah, so sorry, Dr. Claire, you wanted to say
That's it. I was just going to say, are you complete?
very complete. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rehan, for joining in. I'm clearly desperate to move on to Juwaha. Do apologize.
Go ahead. I have to leave. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. So, Tony, Juwaha, who's next? I just need to blur. I'm dyslexic. Sometimes I say the wrong name, even though I know the person's name. Apologies.
I will leave the choice to Tony.
So how are you? Welcome to go next.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm bringing to Supervision, Dr. Clare, a recent virtual team coaching with leadership team that I'm engaged with. This still existing. I notice a significant imbalance in participation, meaning that few team members are participating. Others either that we contracted, putting the camera off, or they just like, in the screen and you see, and you feel that they are distracted, either writing or looking at other, maybe they're opening other pages on the computer and just like, involved in it. And then that led me to notice also that the team leader or the sponsor is voluntarily dominating the conversation. I think because he wants the team to be involved. I used lots of creative tools like, polls, discussion, cards, and, to engage them, and breakout room. So that led me, actually, I was like, having my journals after this session. And I was wondering, like, how can I read the virtual, team coaching with limited, cues? Because it's not like one-to-one or like, in room. I'm not with them in the room, it's virtual. So how can I read it for the next session? And like, how can I learn? And is there any different insight that can help me to like, have this, let's say, the perfect and impactful team coaching session with them? And what effective ways actually to encourage active participation within virtual team coaching? So I'm bringing to the table, and also to my supervision session today, how to imbalance engagement within virtual team coaching. And I would like to be challenged. I would like to be having different insight. I want the coaching, the supervision to be resourceful, benchmarked, because I'm sure that we have a very expert team coaches. So I'm open to any suggestion that you have, and open to any challenges. I'm open to any insightful thoughts.
So one of the things that springs to mind for me, again, is what was contracted But I'm also drawn to, if you play right now with observing yourself, coaching that team online, and you're looking from a meta view, an outsider's view, just connect with that and see what you notice. And
With the
see-
contracting bit,
yeah.
we highlighted this, like, you know, full participation, camera should be on unless there's a, like, you know, a need or like, you know, grab something or go to, like, you know, restroom or so, whatever. And with previous team coaching, like virtual team coaching, it went perfectly. So this, I'm experiencing this for the first time. I don't know why. Regarding me seeing it from outer perspective, it's really disappointing, Dr. Clare. And that's like, you know, if you see it and experience it, you're trying everything that's possible to engage these people. But like, you know, it's going to stay for a while. And then they will be back to like, you know, and you can see their eyes are like, you know, looking down, and or cameras will be off for a certain time. Now I tried, and we recontracted to have this because they requested shorter time for the session. So from 2 hours to an hour and a half, based on our agreement, a recontracting, I mean, and still, so I'm wondering what to do.
So sometimes when the budget's available, I've actually done a shadow consulting role as well with the team, observing them, for example, in business as usual, observing them in their team meetings. And I'm really curious, and we may not know the answer together. I'm really curious, is that okay for the team? Does the team do that, you know, reading their emails when the team meetings are going on? I'm wondering, is there a brave, this seems to be happening. Is that okay with you all? And throw it to them to manage the process a bit more.
Okay. I think I'm gonna try it and see what's gonna happen. Like, you know, we just started like, you know, the sessions, like, you know, already 5 sessions that I have with them, but it's recent. Like, you know, first 2 sessions, they're okay, engaged, fully engaged, but it's recently, like, you know, developing. So I don't know if they're lost their engage. I don't know what the dynamic behind the team, what's happening actually in their own area, because it's virtual. I said, I'm missing the cues, like, you know, that present in, like, you know, being in person with them.
I can say something.
Yeah, please, Tony.
You know, if you had to say to them, you know, something like, you know, who do you serve as a team? You know, what is the value you're adding and to who? And what would that person or stakeholder want from this process here? You know, what I'm observing is, you know, the connection thing going on. How do you see that? You know, what would somebody else, so, you know, you bring in some other system, because I think it's absolutely about this thing, you know, I'm the coach, you're the team, separate versus what are we trying to achieve
Together.
in the space here? What is the space for? And how do we bring people from the system that you serve? What would they want from this process?
Yeah, Tony, I get your point. And actually, I have this trend with my team coaching. Like, you know, I have that coat of arm of the team. Every session, it's like, you know, our, like, you know, rituals. Like, you know, we remind ourselves what's our engaged in, the coat of arm, the values of the team, the mission that they established together with me as a team coach and also with their leader. So it's a ritual. We start our session with this. it's okay. We'll start like, 5-10 minutes. And they said, like, the first 2 sessions, perfect. But gradually from the 3rd session till the 5th session before my holiday, I noticed this, like, disengagement. And people who are engaged or talking and participating, they will give you a small sentence, like, short sentence. It's not like telling you, and like, it's not the full engagement. So I don't know what's led to this. And it's very challenging.
I'm so curious, did you use a diagnostic that gave data on the way the team, for example, work together and their level of engagement? I'm wondering if there's anything there that can be shown.
Diagnostic, like, assessment for the team itself. Yes, I used the diagnostic tool.
Did anything come out of that in terms of the team's level of engagement?
Actually, it's like, lower. That's what we're working on. It's among the goals that we are like contracting on.
I'm laughing because that's irony, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think because also, like, it's the norm. We can see it as team coaches. At the beginning of the engagement, people are excited. But then gradually, the norm will start to show up. So,
and I think you also said I think you said that the team lead is quite dominant. He has a dominant voice. So, what is the contracting that needs to be done with him?
I spoke to him about it. To him about it. He said it's to encourage the team. He done it once because he said, I want to encourage the team. I want them to
and how do you talk to him about the dynamics that creates?
I said I encourage him to leave the team as it is. It's showing their, like, whatever they're feeling. So I don't want dominating. Like, you can encourage them with different ways, but not with the team coaching. Let them speak up. So that's because it's part of the contracting. Like, we agreed upon, like, the team dynamic, especially if their participation is lower and they having this, communication issue, and, it's among the goal that we set for our team engagement.
So there's an activity I've used a few times where in person and online, where honestly the level of engagement can be almost electric. And this is where they share vulnerably a time that they failed. Of course, you can use different topics, but they share. I've even done it with image cards or Lego. I know you use Lego, where they share a time they've failed, be it work or other parts of their life. And so it increases vulnerability and bravery. The fact they use something like something they've sculpted, they're talking about that, which can help some people as opposed to talking about them. And I found that activity, it can take time, but that activity enables everyone to really want to listen even beyond words. And just by practicing that, it may be that they then hopefully want to listen even more in the other things in the team coaching and way beyond that.
And I will ask you a question, Dr. Clare. For this technique, do you suggest if it's going to be a fishbowl setting or, like, virtually, like, I can develop a canvas and each one will...
So yes, and sometimes the reason with Rehan, I didn't leave the images on the screen is because then we're looking at the images instead of looking at the person. So you may even just want to do it, everyone's on the screen together.
Okay. I'll try it and see.
Tony, anything else to share for Jawaha?
May I add something? Is it possible to join or only it's for 3?
For now, we'll just leave it as 3, just because we'd have to recontract, but
Okay.
keep it, and we'd love to hear from you at the end.
Okay.
Tony.
Yeah, I mean, I love that, you know, what you're saying about, you know, getting them to talk on a personal level. You know, you know, here we go again. We're having this conversation about our performance and what we need to do to get blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I'm bored of that. I'll just carry on doing other work. So again, you know, it's about what is the purpose? What are we trying to co-create together in this space that would add value to you? You know, I'm sensing, you know, you have other things going on. I'm sensing X. So, you know, what would be the best use of this time? Maybe in breakout rooms, discuss it, come back. Because, you know, if they're a group together, perhaps they're feeling guarded. You know, the boss is there, he's the one that dominates. You know, so you know we'll just go along. We'll just play lip service, but actually we're doing other work. So you know what is a way of them owning the space, not you owning it, not you know. Yeah.
What comes to my mind now, hearing from you and like, you know, having the resources from Dr. Clare about this technique and also from you, Tony, I think I will just develop like, you know, a hybrid way of like, you know, you both of your suggestion is like, you know, before each session is to contract about what are you want to achieve from this session. Okay, I can like, you know, set 2 sessions at least to build this engagement and like let them feel that they are heard. And okay,
And
we'll tackle like
how to
personal.
raise the energy.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
question of what do you want to achieve puts people in left brain thinking. It just goes into that logical, rational that they have to deal with the whole time at work, where you want to get them, move them into an energetic, co-creative, active space. You know, so the storytelling, the visuals, the images, versus questions that just trigger that left brain thinking.
Okay.
Sorry, that was said very excitedly.
Okay, yeah,
Sorry.
I totally
Haven't
feel you.
slowed my
You should
voice
see me.
down.
I'm worse than you.
Sorry.
Oh, that's me. Don't worry. Don't
And
be.
I'm aware of time, Joanna. One other thing in case it's useful is I'm trained certified agile coach as well. So thinking of retrospectives, and at the end of each team coaching session, is there a retrospective on the session in terms of process? What worked, what didn't, what else can we do together to increase engagement in these sessions?
Yeah, Dr. Claire, I do it, but like, you know, the
Fantastic.
minimum words, like you want one word, or you send them to breakout room. So you want them to like, you know, discuss it between them and then they share it to us and then just like, you know, silence, full silence. So that triggers like, you know, curiosity. What am I missing? Because nothing is shared. So I think that's why I'm sharing, like, you know, I'm gonna communicate, like, you know, create what advice that you provide me or like resources that you provided me, like, you know, what sharing a time that they failed in and what they learned from it, and also share what Tony shared, like, you know, to build something. So like, at least they will speak. So like, you know, human level connection, then it's like, you know, let's focus on our mission.
And what we know,
Yeah,
those is that you really care about your clients and the work you're doing.
I do, yeah. Especially when you have multinational teams. So lots of things can be exposed soon.
Yeah.
It takes time and patience also. Because you can be contracted in something, but something will emerge suddenly.
Complete for now.
Yeah, okay. And thank you very much. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Dr. Claire.
And Tony,
Okay.
over to you.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm coaching a club, local club, because a lot of the work I do is online, virtual, and this was an opportunity to work face to face with a group. And it's a club that's been in operation for 150 years. I love the theme of it. It was called the Horticultural and Crafts Society, 150 years in operation. Now it's a sort of garden club and crafts club. And, you know, I just think it's a wonderful theme, bringing beauty into people's lives, connecting people to nature, connecting people, you know, and it's a great community. But the current structure is with the chairperson who's been in power there for 15 years and is facing dwindling membership. And and from talking to other people, is this person has driven people away with the kind of person she is, and is kind of comes across as doing things. This is what I've got energy for, and we'll just discount everything else. How about this? No, 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 we're not going to do that. How about, no, we're not going to do that. So just keeping on this quite narrow, which has just led to a dwindling membership. New people are coming in. She has eventually agreed that she needs to, after 15 years, pass over the chairmanship of this club. I have been co-opted onto this committee to help with this team coaching process. But what you have is, you know, individuals who are just doing their own agenda. And so there is something about how to get them to work on this process of transforming how they cooperate, if you like, how they connect on the challenges they face. And what I notice is, you know, my agenda is, right, okay, we need to get moving with this. You're too slow. And I recognize that in myself. Let's create change now. You know, this club is shrinking. You want to grow the membership. We want to explore options. We're going to get the mayor of the town talking about I said, let's create something that brings in energy, which is to talk about this 150 years legacy. The mayor will talk to that. We'll do some World Cafe event. We'll bring other voices into the room, around, from the town. But of course, what I'm finding is that I'm having to do a lot of team facilitation, not coaching work, because they are needing direction and ideas. And my head can just boom with ideas. So what am I struggling with is they need to have a conversation about how they work together, but they are not ready for it. They're just not, because it's herding cats. You know, one's an aristocrat, the other one's very wealthy, this, that, the other. Don't tell us how we need to behave. Sorry. But they really welcome the work I've done. I've already helped to create a lot of impact. But I'm still, what is the conversation we need to have here about how you connect on your capacity to grow this club?
Gorgeous project. And you've gone quite serious there as you stopped. So one thing that springs to mind for me is sort of, back to basics. You're here, maybe they're not there yet, but, vision, mission, but values, can they together create a purpose statement and values, and everything, just like for an organization, goes back to those values. Is this aligned to our values, the way we're being together, the speed we're moving related to the values, and so forth? And then the other thing I was thinking as well was, I found sometimes when there's a group that are called a team, but they're not operating as a team, seen it a lot on boards, that sometimes team building needs to take place before team coaching. And I'm wondering, would that support them in gelling, aligning, and then you move into the juicier work?
Well, I think definitely, and I've learned that, is that word team coaching is not something to use. So it's I would think definitely moving away from that. And yeah, the value, I mean, we have talked about the purpose. I've said to them, why do you exist? Why are you here? Why are you here? Why do you have this? Connecting people to beauty, bringing our community together, connecting to nature. They love all of that. Values about how they work together as a team, that would definitely be something. And I would need to explore how I go about doing that. I don't know what the blockage is around that. What do we value about this work? Yeah. What does that mean in terms of how we connect?
And
Yeah.
then also values can be done in a creative way. I was working with BNP Paribas Investment Bank, and we did the connecting with the values through an action and a sound. So just trying to embody the value as well. And then red card, yellow card in terms of, if someone's not living that value in terms of behaviors. I'm also thinking that even empty chair, get them to sit in the seat of the stakeholder, one of the people in the community, in the club. See what they say, what they want from the board, the committee. Jawaha.
I truly have to say that, virtual team coaching is very challenging and it needs lots of energy. And considering lots of things that you can't see, but you feel. Your senses will be working, to the max. What's actually attract my attention is the concept of team building. Yes, I think what if Tony visited or revisited team building and dedicating a few sessions to team building, and let them define what is team for their own perspective, from their own perspective. What's the definition of team? The value of the team, and can they build something like their coat of arms and have it represented in front of them, and share picture also virtually, and revisit it from time to time. I think that's how, because I used it. That's why I said it's ritual. From my part of the world, team coaching is new. So Tony, I don't know from your part of the world also, but the concept of team building, what is the team, the coat of arms, their values, mission, vision, have it represented and visual in front of them, whether in the club itself and also in your slide when you have this virtual team coaching. Sorry, I'm resourceful here, so if you're okay with that. And dedicate 2 minutes before the session, with the image of their coat of arms. And what have you achieved? What are we visiting today? What are we being challenged with today? And luckily, your team at least is speaking and giving you full, full data. Mine is very short sentence, or kept in silence. So make use of the data, Tony, and good luck.
Thank you, Jawed. Thank you very much.
As well, I'm thinking, legacy. 150 years down the line, what do you need? I like the word need instead of want. What do you need to leave in place? And what way can you do that for your children's children's children? I think I've stolen that one for Peter Hawkins. Where are you now, Tony?
I think that gave me some great ideas. Love it. And it goes to show, you know, always when you can get, because you get so caught up
Yeah,
and, you know,
looking down.
emotions take over. Oh, that one's, you know, oh, and then, you know, it's all constricting.
Mm.
And when you throw it out there, wow, that opens up the creative space.
Mm.
So that was very useful to do that. Thank you. Yeah.
An
Yeah.
ode to
And I got good
supervision.
ideas. Yeah. And I will definitely use Peter Hawkins' process. Yeah, I really like that with his, you know, who are here to add value. Yeah.
Yeah.
What would they say?
And to leave you both with something to think about, you know, as we close together, what are you learning about yourself as a team coach? And we'll leave it at that. Thank you, Tony. Oh, it feels quite reflective now. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Joaha. So if anyone wants to share what they noticed, what worked, nothing on content. There was one person who had an idea. You can put that in the chat now. Aside from that, let's stick with the ways we work together, what worked, what didn't. I am available to stay on a bit. We will carry on recording. I do apologize if it runs over a bit, but we'll make sure you get this bit of the recording if you do have to dip off. Anyone like to share anything? Vicky.
I was really struck by the creativity that was used. So I'm absolutely taking that away for myself. Appreciate it.
Excuse me, Claire, can I ask a question?
Sure.
I've just noticed when I've run some supervision sessions before, we try and get people to avoid giving advice or suggestions. And I noticed today there was advice and suggestions and how helpful it was and well received. I'd just be very interested in just a quick thought from you on that.
I think it's to do with contracting and what people have asked for. And also, if I'm coaching people over supervising over a series of sessions, then play with everything. Sometimes totally directive, sometimes totally non-directive,
Okay.
and everything in between. But more about what do they want to leave the session with?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just think there's a freedom in supervision, especially if people are in the, you know, the world of totally non-directive. Well, I don't think there's ever non-directive completely, but there is a freedom in supervision. So I tend to do it where the person first thinks and shares. And of course, time didn't always permit in this case. And then moving into others working generatively to build on that together, but always their space first.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Pleasure. Anyone else? Helen, I think we've finished on the dot.
I think we have a perfect ending to a superb session. What I loved, Claire, was the pace that you went at. You know, it was just slow, but not too slow. But that pace allowed the space for, you know, for the thinking and the reflection to come. And I think that's so powerful. And I also loved the way you reflected back the body language and the mood, you know, you showing what the mood was, and I thought that was very powerful. Fantastic session. Thank you so much, Claire, for doing that. We've had lots of comments on how much it was appreciated. Yeah, it was fantastic. And I'm assuming if everyone's happy for that to be shared, we can share that and share your slides. And Claire, and you'll send out your contact details as well if anyone wants to discuss what you've talked about in more detail.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Helen. And have a wonderful day, afternoon, or evening, wherever you may be.
Wherever you are. Yeah. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.